morning, everyone, and welcome to the 109th Annual Seminar of the California State Division of the International Association of Identification. We're so glad to have you all present, as well as to our virtual attendants. And we're going to get started right away. So we're going to call the meeting to order, or the seminar to order, and we're going to have the presentation of colors from the Monterey County Honor Guard. And that's going to be handled by our first vice president, which is Don O'Neill.
All right, good morning. If everybody could rise for the presentation of the colors by the Monterey County Honor Guard. And we'll remain standing for the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance after. The national anthem will be played by Laura Lathrop from Visalia PD. Now, if everyone could follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. If you please remain standing while the honor guard exits the building. Thank you. You may take your seats.
Every year, we sometimes we have people in our lives that may have passed away. And this year we had lost some people from our fingerprint community and from our organization, Pat Wertheim, and then a week later, his son, Casey Wertheim. They were integral members of our community and the fingerprint community. They've made a lot of contributions, and we want to honor them. You'll see them in our programs to learn a little bit about their life and how they contributed to our fingerprint community. Many of you, including myself, have had classes from Pat. I may have known him personally, as well as his son, Casey. So this was something very unexpected. And we want to honor them, as well as our military and other police officers that have died in the line of duty during this year. So we want to take a moment of silence to honor them. Okay, thank you very much. We have a very special guest that took time out of her schedule to come down and visit us. And that's Sheriff Coroner Tina Nieto. She's done a lot of things. She's 34 years in law enforcement. She served in many sworn positions, both operationally and administratively. She's the first Latino sheriff in the history of the state of California, sworn in on December 30th, 2022. She's made some decisive victory as a Monterey County sheriff. She was first woman, first person of color, and first gay person elected to the sheriff in the county. Prior to being elected, she served over 5 years as a police chief in Marina, California, spending 28.5 years with the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD. So she's from South like us. Including her last years as a commanding officer with that agency. She was promoted to commander level with the LAPD, and she became the first female Hispanic in LAPD's history to do so. She's originally born in San Gabriel, California, and was raised in West Covina, California. Has a master's degree in leadership and management from the University of Laverne, has a BS in criminal justice from California State University of Fullerton. She's graduated. She's a graduate with the she's a graduate of the Senior Management Institute of Policing through PERF. And she served 8 years with the United States Army Reserve, attaining the rank of captain. With the U.S. Army Reserve, she served in various leadership roles, including assistant to the Provost Marshal, commander of Military Police Company, a member of the Nuclear Weapons Logistic Element, and squad leader of Ordnance Specialists. She's currently a California commissioner on the Police Officer Standard and Training Commission post, as we know it by, and appointed in 2021 by Governor Newsom. The post commission forms a balanced group of city and county administrators, law enforcement professionals, educators, and public members that set a minimum selection and training standards all over 600 California law enforcement agencies. So we're very happy to have her come and welcome us here in Monterey.
Thank you, Cynthia. You know, they gave me an option to say it myself, and I just should have said, I'm Tina, I'm old. My hair is dark, and that's between me and my hairdresser, because it actually is all gray from just years in this. Actually, I'm into my 36th year in law enforcement. So obviously I love the profession. I love the people that are involved in the profession. I love you guys. Because you guys are worth it. You deserve leadership. You deserve people that will fight for you and care for you. And I think the public, we could do a better job of educating the public about what you guys actually do for the law enforcement profession. You know, we've been fortunate. Oh, by the way, welcome to Monterey County. It's ugly here. You're gonna have a horrible time. No, I always joke that it's the most beautiful county in the state of California with the other 57 sheriffs. We meet on a regular basis. You guys are in a beautiful location. Take advantage of the sun when it's out, because at times it can get a little foggy here because of the marine layer that comes out in the early evenings and sometimes in the morning. You guys got a really pretty morning. And I got to tell you, please take some time and go visit the rest of the Monterey Peninsula. We have a lot of restaurants, a lot of really cool places to visit, the aquarium. Spend your money here. We need the tax dollars, right? And it is a great place to work, live, and play. And thank you for coming here to both work and play. I know when I came up here as the chief of police 7 years ago, I was not planning to move to Monterey County. I was going to do the back and forth thing, you know, and then go back to, I lived in a beach community in Orange County. And as soon as I got here, I was like, nope, we're moving. For those of you who live in metropolitan areas, they would say, you know, I came from Orange County and I would drive into LA up, and you can tell I'm from Southern California because I say the 405 freeway. So we say we have names for things. And it would take me 1 hour to 3 hours one way every day to get to work, and sometimes and the same going home. So when I got up here and I'd say, hey, I need to go someplace. And my people would say, well, you got to go here. And they have that sigh like in California. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to take me an hour. And they said, yeah, it's a long drive. And I said, well, how long is it going to take me? They're like 20 minutes. I was like, I'm moving. So, but welcome, California State Division, International Association for Identification. Thank you for having your seminar here. A couple things I want to get back to talking about what you guys do for our communities and why I'm up here to thank you and why I made time out of my day. And I too am in a conference in Paso Robles. And you're saying, how does she do that? I was down there drinking wine with the chiefs from Monterey County, and I drove back because it's really important to let people like you know how valued you are for our industry in law enforcement, public safety. We couldn't solve things without you. And again, getting back to what I was talking about earlier, we really have to do a better job of educating our public about what you guys do. Part of it right now, especially with those of you who are involved in the DNA identification piece of identifying people, thank you, because that's brought a spotlight to your profession of how important you guys are to solving crimes, bringing some type of justice to our victims, right? When we solve these things. And we never make it completely right. I tell people that, but we can bring them some answers. I know as I took over the sheriff's office at the end of 2022, I opened the floodgates for our cold case team. We had a Monterey County cold case team, and the sheriff's office at that time was not playing well in the sandbox with them. And I said, look, as soon as I'm the sheriff, we're going to do that. And now we've solved quite a few crimes, or at least identified the remains of, many of the subjects that we still had in the coroner's office to bring some answers to the families. And so I want on behalf of the families, I want to let you guys know that you do bring some justice to them. Like I said, it's never okay. They're never going to be 100%. But as the sheriff, as a leader in law enforcement with LAPD, as a chief of police, I've sat with many families. And when you can bring them some answers, there is that saving grace, as they say, where you can see them like a little bit of burdens lifted off their shoulder, because now they know at least what's happened to their loved ones, or they know that there's a bad guy, behind the bars to pay his or her dues to both the family and to our communities because of the work that you guys do. So on behalf of all law enforcement here in Monterey County, because some of we have cities here, we have like 5 contract cities in this area, and they're small, so you won't even know you're in one city to the other as you go from restaurant to restaurant. We want to thank you for coming here, for choosing Asilomar. It's a beautiful location. And a quick bit of trivia before I get off the stage here. This place is haunted. And this is one of the most haunted halls on the Asilomar property. So if you're really good investigators, can you find that ghost, take a picture, send it to Sheriff Nieto at montereycounty.org. So Cynthia, I want to thank you and your board. Have a great conference. I've got to leave. I'm not going to hear the guy from Louisiana. We were chatting. I know he's really interesting. So thank you. Thank you for those out and for your service, for those law enforcement, sir. I saw you saluting with your hat on, which that's how you can always tell who are veterans, because they don't have to take off their hat. They get to just salute. So thank you, everybody. Have a great conference. Thank you. We have thank you for you. Oh, okay. Thank you.
In honor of your visit to us, we wanted to at least acknowledge that you took the time out of your schedule to come and visit us. So here's a certificate. Okay. Thank you. Okay, well, it's starting. Again, I want to welcome everyone. It's great, and it's my great honor, really, to welcome you to this 109th CSDIAI conference. I mean, 109 years. I mean, really, that's really impressive. As I mentioned to the sheriff, this year's theme is leadership and growth, and we have an outstanding program planned for you this week. This is a gathering of the most dedicated and talented forensic professionals from across our region here. And I want you to be able to take advantage of all of this. As we open this conference, as you look around on the program, you'll see a butterfly. And I'm reminded of the monarch butterfly. It's a symbol of resilience, transformation, and an extraordinary journey across great distances. Much like the monarch, our work in forensics is a journey of growth. We adapt, we evolve, and we press forward when the path gets difficult. Every investigation, every examination, every moment of learning is a step in our professional transformation. And together as a community, we have the power to inspire, change, advance our science, and make a lasting impact. Over the next few days, I encourage you to embrace the spirit of the monarch, to be curious, to be courageous, to seek growth, not just individual skills, but in the strength and unity of our profession. Thank you all for your commitment to truth, to justice, and the ever-evolving journey of forensic science. And again, I welcome you to this conference. Let's take flight together. So we have a few housekeeping things. I want to, first of all, we know that this conference would not be possible or as great without the wonderful support of our sponsors. They've taken the time to be here. Please visit their booths. Please ask questions. Please share with them what you need in the field so that they could be able to maybe come up with something innovative to help. We have them listed here. It's a lot, and I'm grateful for it. They're going to have their vendor booths open all the way until Wednesday, I believe. They're going to have a whole vendor day tomorrow with the vendor event tomorrow night. So take advantage of that. And also, I wanted to share some other housekeeping things with regard to our program on our website, how to navigate it, how to find out what the latest, how to upload pictures. And we have Amanda Crafton. She's going to give us some housekeeping information on that.
Hello, everyone, and everyone virtual. I am your host for the virtual and your audiovisual for in person. So our seminar information Google Drive folder is located through this QR code. You will find this QR code located in every speaking room and here at the registration booth. We also have it on our website, the link to that directly. You will find in that Google Drive folder our program. Take a look at that. There's a lot of good information and pretty designs for our speakers to showcase them. You can also find the most recent updated schedule. There are a couple printouts out there that we already had to make some corrections to. But if we change something the day of, this is where the updated schedule is going to be. We also have the events, our general membership meeting link information, and some links to our social media. Don't forget on the very first folder, we have an option to share our photos. That folder will take you to a link to where you can fill out a Google Drive, a Google form to upload your photos. So we really want you guys to share your photos with us so we can post you guys on our Instagram and promote future events and just share it with each other, everyone here. Don't be afraid to let me know if you have any questions, and thank you.
Amanda's been amazing with all of this. She has a lot of great ideas. If anybody wants to learn how to help do any of these things, please don't hesitate to get involved and help. Up next, just so you know, there's a restroom in the back in this building. I think the women's are on this side and the men's are on this side. Go down the stairs and they're down there. If you happen to be outside, you can actually enter from outside in the front area of this building. Everybody knows where to eat around here, Rocker Dining Hall down the hill. And without further ado, we're going to introduce our keynote speaker, Tom Gear. I'm going to give him a little background about him. He's retired, 15-plus-year veteran, having worked at the South Louisiana Crime Lab in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He served as the latent print, the CLPE in the latent print department technical supervisor. He's been a member of the International Association for Identification since 2008. He was the 2014-2015 president of the Louisiana State Division of the II, and he's also a life member. Tom comes from very humble backgrounds. He's from the heart of the Cajun country. Nicknamed him a Cajun king here. He's from the deep South, Central Louisiana, the Gulf Coast. He grew up in the swamps and the bayous of the nation's largest swampland. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that basin. Mm-hmm. You gonna do it? It was through these humble beginnings that he became the man he is today. Tom embodies the Cajun culture, joy la viva, joy of life. If you met him, you would agree. After graduating high school in 1978, Tom started working as a welder in the oil field. He enjoyed his faith and his family very much. One fateful day, are you gonna talk about all this? I'll just leave it. You want me to keep going? Okay. All right. One fateful day, August 23rd, 1994, Tom's life was tragically changed. He suffered a career-ending injury while at work. His life was turned upside down, but he fought back, worked his way into the career he loved so much. Tom's had numerous instances where his life was turned upside down. He could have given up at any time when most people probably would have. He's a fighter and loves life too much to give up. Giving up is just not in his vocabulary. And I've been knowing Tom for a long time, and I've seen some of the struggles he's been through. He won't talk a lot, but he also wrote a book that we'll probably raffle off later. But yeah, not raffle off, silent auction it, I think. But he's been around a long time, and his good attitude helps him endure a lot, which is why we probably need to hear more of stories like this. So when we're faced with things like that, we'll be more inclined to not give up and keep going and fight it through. So I'm gonna let Tom tell you about himself. And thank you, Tom, for coming.
Right. Well, thank you, Madam President. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite to come, and man, y'all got a great crew, great people here. I always love coming to California. People are great people. I mean, I've always been treated like one of the family here. So, you know, when you go places, you get treated like that, you want to come back. And I've been here a few times, and I thank everybody here. I know I haven't met everybody here, but thank you anyway for the warm hospitality. You know, you always hear the Southern hospitality. But you guys have it over here in California as well, and I really thank y'all for that. What I'd like to do for just a second, if you don't mind, is I would like to recognize any military veterans, active duty, anybody? Thank you so much for your service. I love our military. I really do. I got a soft spot for our military. Without them, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to do the things I do and have done over the course of my life, and standing up here in front of you guys wouldn't be for people like you. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, I'm kind of a little bit of an unorthodox speaker. I hope y'all don't mind. I say y'all a lot. Okay, that means you all. I need my translator. Where's my translator at? Jason Cole, where you at? Oh, there he is in the back. Okay, I see a little skinny guy back there in the back. Jason and I go way back. I met him in Minnesota, I believe, in 2014, and that's a big man to notice right off the bat. I'll tell you. And I was told that he would be a good person to get to know, and I don't know if it was for security reasons or what, but you know, we started talking. Within a few minutes, we were completing each other's sentences. So I was able to make really good friends with Jason, and he spoke at my conference in 2015. But anyway, I'm going to move along a little bit. I know a lot of people are used to speakers coming up and, it's just straight, boom, boom, boom. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm a little bit crazy, I guess if you will. I tell a lot of jokes. I like to laugh a lot. That's the way I teach my classes. And after a little while of me talking, I think you'll understand why. But I will say that I did not know this story about the monarch butterfly. Did anybody, y'all knew this about the monarch? That's amazing, and back in Reno, Madam President Cynthia asked me to come here to be a keynote speaker. And first thing I said, well, why? Can you not find anybody else? I know there's better speakers than me out there. She said, no, I want you to come in and tell your story. I said, look, I'm just a little guy from the swamps, man. Nobody wants to listen to a swamp rat talk. I mean, half of y'all probably can't understand what I'm saying anyway, but I'll try to get through that. I talk with my hands a lot. So don't tie my hand behind my back, you'll get half the story. But anyway, she said, oh, I really want you to come in. And of course, her crew that was in the booth there, the California booth, I was working the Lynn Peavy booth right next to them. And they all said, oh, no, Tom, we heard a lot about your story. We want you to be here. We want you to talk about it. So back and forth, I thought about it for a while and said, you know what? Every time I teach a class, I talk about, where I've been and where I'm at. And people want to know, well, how did you do this and that? How'd you get from where you were to where you are, from a welder to a forensic analyst? How in the world does that happen? And I got to thinking about it. Everywhere I've gone, I've told a lot of people one of the things here, one thing there, one thing there. But I don't think there's a single person in this room that knows the whole story. Well, that's going to change today. I decided with the blessing of Madam President that I was going to spill my guts, so to speak. I'm going to open up and let y'all know my whole story. Yeah, I know, sit tight. I know some of y'all saying, oh my God, not today, not today, But it's Monday. I know it's early, but we're going to try to get through this. So I'm going to take y'all back. Some people in here know that I've had a couple of near-death experiences. Nobody, or I don't think anybody in this room knows that I've actually had 5 of them. And when Cynthia said, we know that you've came these struggles, you've had a adversity in your life, and do you want me to talk about that? Well, I don't think even Cynthia knows that I had 5 near-death experiences, but I have, and I'm going to talk about them. I'm not going to go into too much. I know y'all don't want to hear all of that stuff, but I'll fill you in on most of it. And I'll also give you an idea what I feel about this growth and leadership. Or at the end of it, I'll get more into that, but I think it's important. Everybody in this room is going to go through struggles. You're going to have trials. You're going to have tribulations. You're going to have to grow from it. We all do it. I'm no different. Y'all have had them. Some of y'all probably worse than mine. But the leadership part is how you react to that. What do you do with yourself after? So we're going to get into all of that. And if you'll just bear with me and we'll get through this together. But I took some cliff notes. It's only a short book, but I don't read from a script. I don't even teach like that. I do PowerPoints. I don't read off of it. That's just not my style. So I don't knock anybody that does, because it's hard to stand up in front of people and do that. So without further ado, I'm going to take y'all back to July of 1985. I know a lot of y'all in this room probably wasn't even born yet. Well, I was a welder, like I said, and I was working in the oil fields. Well, let me backtrack just a second. When I graduated high school in 1978, there was only 3 options, basically, for the boys coming out of high school. We went in the military, went to oil field, or we went and worked in the cane field. And of course, the girls had less choices than that. So it was a pretty bad, we was podunk, man. We had 400 people in my school from kindergarten to 12th grade. So we were not a big community. So we didn't have a lot of opportunities. I wanted to go in the military and I kicked myself to this day for not doing it. I backed away at the last minute. And I mean, I apologize to you, sir. I didn't do it. You know, I wish now I would have, but you know, that's in the past and move on. I went in the oil field. I had my high school sweetheart. We were talking about getting married and this was the thing to do. I mean, that's what you do in a small town. You go to work, you raise a family, and that's what you do. So that was in 1978. We got married in 78. First child was born in 79. So, you know, we're going through, and like Cynthia said, you know, loved family, the whole thing, and, you know, devout Catholic, we're all going through the whole thing together. Well, in 1985, I had my first near-death experience. I was working in a shipyard. We had a boat on a dry dock, and I don't know if any of y'all familiar with how these ships are built or cargo boats. They have that round thing around the side. They call it a rub rail. That's so when they bump into something, it doesn't damage the hull of the boat. Well, we built those. You know, you take a pipe, you cut it halfway, and two in long ways. You weld on the side of the boat, and then you got to heat it up and bend it around and weld it as you go. Well, this was in July. I don't know if anybody's ever been in South Louisiana in July. It's extremely hot and humid. It's very bad. And on hot days like that, the water lays real still. And this boat is on a dry dock on the water. So we got heat coming up off the water, heat coming down from the sun. It's real bad. And I'm using this thing called a rosebud, which throws a lot of heat to melt down this metal. It's where you can bend it, make it move. And I have on leather gear, like leather sleeves and chaps to keep fire from hitting or metal sparks from laying on me, burning me up. So I got all this heat going on. And I'm up on a scaffold. And I realized something's not right. You know, I was getting cold chills. I mean, it's 100 and something degrees out here and the humidity's 120, you know, probably about 90, 95. You know, our humidity is really high. And I wasn't feeling right. I was getting cold chills. I was starting to get a little weak. So I said, you know, I better get down and go get a drink of water. Climbed down, went to the restroom, washed my face a little bit, got some water, and immediately started vomiting. I said, okay, this is not good. So I went to the office. We used to have back then, we took the sodium pills, you know, little salt tablets. They pushed that on us back then. I mean, I know it's a horrible thing to do now, but we took this. So I took them and, you know, it's supposed to promote sweat. Well, I quit sweating. Drank water, took that, and I tried to get back up the scaffold and I couldn't do it. My legs were too weak. And I kept throwing up. So I told the boss, look, I gotta go. And luckily I lived right across the street from where I was working. So the sheriff was on a long drive. I actually worked across the street from my house. Well, I barely made it home. I fell out 3 times on my way home, crossing the street. Fell down, couldn't get up. My wife was working in a little flower bed in front of the house. And I crawled up to where she was. She didn't even know I was on my way. And she was asking what was wrong. And at this time, I'd thrown up already enough to where I could barely talk. My throat was scratchy. Didn't know what I was looking at, what I was doing. And her boss was a registered nurse. So she called down. The nurse came in and, you know, they put me in a tub of ice water, kept throwing ice on me. And I mean, it was melting as fast as he got here. Couldn't control. I was getting cramps, you know, and we couldn't control it. So he said, we got to get this guy to the hospital. I went into the hospital. And by the time I got to the hospital, there was a lot of people, you know, a lot of people died and were suffering heat strokes at this time. So I wasn't the only one in the hospital, so I wasn't a priority to them. You know, just another guy here saying he's got a heat stroke. Well, I didn't know what a heat stroke was. I just said, I got something wrong with me. That's all I knew. So it got so bad to where they actually pulled a gurney in and had me lay on a gurney. Then I started throwing up right in the floor. I said, no, we can't do this. So they put me in this room with a whole bunch of other people, and there's a lavatory. They wheeled me up and let me lay my head across the bed into that lavatory where I could just throw up in the lavatory. We're good. Look, this is Louisiana hospitals, man. I'm telling you. And so, you know, we're used to cleaning deer and wild pigs and stuff like that. So it's no big deal. We're used to this stuff. So finally, my wife was saying, she caught this, what she thought was a nurse, a little tiny nurse in the hallway. The nurse, I need you to come see. I know there's a lot going on. And she said, this is what's going on. And that lady said, well, I'm a doctor. I'll have you know, it's even better. Come here. I need you to see him. Yeah, so she came in, and when she saw that, you know, she saw my chart, I'd lost 49 pounds in one day. It's amazing how much fluid a body holds. between the throwing up, and I was throwing up blood, the cramping and all, but 49 pounds in one day. I didn't think it was humanly possible. But it was so bad, my eyes were sinking into my head. I mean, just the fluid was gone to where now I wasn't seeing straight. It was really bad. And so when that doctor saw this, she's pushing everybody out the way. She's grabbing this gurney herself, pushing me down the hall, screaming, hollering, get so-and-so. I just remember her yelling, get this, get that. I don't know what all this stuff is. Put me into a room, and she hollers about something. All I know was a needle. And I know a lot of people are probably scared of needles. I'm not, but she sticks this needle in my hand, starts to administer whatever it was. I don't know to this day what it was, but she said, don't you dare throw it up. And I started and she jumped up on top of that gurney with me and put her hands over my mouth. Swallow it. I don't care what you do. Do not let this up. So I was gagging him anyway. I got it down. And a couple of minutes later, everything passed. I wasn't cramping anymore. My muscles eased up, and I went out. I mean, I passed out. 3 days later, I woke up. So I was in a coma for 3 days. Didn't know if I was alive or dead. And they came and said, well, I didn't think you was going to make it out of this hospital. By rights, you should not have made it out of here. So, you must be living right. You're doing something right. That's our saying, you must be living right. But I made it through that. And so it took me a little while, a couple of weeks. I was fine. I went back to work. I said, you have to watch yourself. Don't do it again, because this can happen again, like pneumonia. Next time it's easier. After that, it's easier and easier. So I did. And everything was good. Back to work, feeding my family. Non-eventful stuff. You take your kids to school or kindergarten at that time, and T-ball and what have you. It was great. So I'm going to speed up a little bit and go to August of 1994, which as Ms. Cynthia alluded to just a little bit. Oh, and by the way, the name of that basin that I'm from is Atchafalaya. It's very easy to say, Atchafalaya Basin, right? I don't know what the problem with that was. It's simple. Okay. August 23rd, 1994 was a huge day in my life. And that's the day that I went to work, no big deal, like every day. Went to work, got there, and every evening I would cover my welding machine with a plastic, because that welding machine fed my family. So I was going to take care of that welding machine. When I go to work, I'll uncover it, because we get rain all the time. We're like tropical climate. We get rain, not every day, but a lot of times it'll rain months at a time. But I covered it up to protect it. And this one particular day, I was uncovering it, and a piece of metal that I put on top to hold the plastic down started rolling. And when I went to grab it, electricity jumped through that machine and hit me. Had 480 volts hit me. And the yard superintendent was standing right next to me. He and I were talking, discussing the day. And he said, what was that? And all I know is I couldn't breathe. I was contracting like this. I couldn't talk. And he was reaching behind the machine, grabbing the electrical cords, shaking them, and I'm kicking at it. Like, I couldn't say it, but I want him to stop. I didn't want it to happen to him. And he said, oh, well, go over there and go get in the cherry picker and go grab this and bring it back over so we can install it over here. Well, I'm tell you, when I left that spot right there, I did not know where I was until later in that day, sometime, I don't know if it was 10 minutes or 2 hours. I'm sitting on a block of wood, and this man's talking to me. Don't know what he was saying. All I remember is there's somebody there talking to me. Said, and then after a little while, somebody else came up. Then the safety man came up. Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I just got shocked a little bit. I'll be all right. I got up. I was so disoriented, didn't know where I was. Tried to go back. So I couldn't do it. So I said, I got to kind of duck under a little bit. I don't want them to see me walking so slow, because normally I used to walk very fast. So I don't want them to see me walking real slow and maybe think I'm slacking off and fire me or whatever. I worked like that for 3 days. Then finally, after that, I just couldn't go anymore. I was falling down. I couldn't sleep. I was hurting so bad. I couldn't breathe. And cramping it wasn't a heat stroke, but it was a different kind of cramp, But I went through that, and then finally, I went and told the safety man, I said, look, I gotta get checked out. There's something wrong. He said, well, what happened? I said, well, I got shocked, and this is just. He said, you got shocked. I said, yeah, it sounded like a shotgun. When it came in, it hit my hand and it threw my hand back, and I just knew the whole thing. So he took me to the hospital. He said, we're going to go get you checked out. Well, they went to do a blood gas test, and I know everybody here has ever seen a blood gas test. They go in your wrist to go to that main artery. I passed out. Went into shock, passed out, didn't know nothing. And normally I'm a pretty tough guy, I like to think, but I'm passing out on this stuff. It was not good. And so they did all the tests, and they said, we're going to admit him to the hospital. And safety man said, oh, you don't have to. So no, we're going to do this. We're going to put him in here. We're going to monitor him. So long story short, I was in the hospital total 10 days. They were running every kind of test. Some of my buddies that would come see me said, man, they got every machine hooked to you. I think you're energizing, or you're charging up every battery in a machine in the hospital with all electricity in your body. Well, I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe that's what it was. Saving money. So on the seventh night, they were coming in every 15, 20 minutes, taking blood, doing this, checking this and that. Finally, they let me sleep on the seventh night. And it was early in the morning, and I could hear a man's voice talking. I was asleep. You got that little light, that little night light thing in the hospitals. I know y'all seen them, where the nurses can see what's going on, but you don't bother you. Well, that light was on, but I was asleep, and I could hear a man's voice. I kept thinking I was dreaming. Then I kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and I saw a man standing there. He was doing this. So I kind of opened my eyes and said, who is this? And I noticed it was my family priest. I said, Father, what are you doing here? He goes, shut up, I'm busy. I said, no, what are you doing? He said, I'm here to give you last rites. Shut up. Yeah, he said, I'm almost finished. We'll talk later. I said, oh, time out, Padre, time out. I'm not checking out. I'm not going anywhere. And he's like, no, just shut up, Tom. We're going to do this. So he went ahead and he finished giving me my last rites. And I don't know about y'all, but pardon my French, if you will, but that'll scare the hell out of anybody. You got a priest standing over you giving you last rites. And I asked him, what's going on? I'm thinking I'm getting out of the hospital pretty soon. Well, it turns out the doctor thought I was getting out of the hospital pretty soon, but not in the way I thought. She called him in. She called the priest in and said, this guy's not going to make it through tonight. So how I survived it? Strong faith, strong will, luck. I don't know what you want to call it, but I made it. Now, the hospital was the easy part. I'm going to talk in depth about this one because this is the one that really did it. After I got out of the hospital, there was a lot of things I had to learn about myself, about the world around me. All the injuries that I had, it turned out that I broke 3 vertebrae in my back where the electricity came in. It blew a hole in my left lung. The lower lobe, you got 3 lobes on the left side. Well, I have 2 now. One of them flattened out, it's scarred up, it's no longer good. The pulmonologist said, we can go remove that lower lobe if you want to and just reattach it to your diaphragm. I said, no, doc, I kind of got attached to this thing after 33 years. I think I'm going to leave it alone. So I said, unless it bothers me down the road, it's staying. We're not doing that. So I still have all 3, just one I can't use. It also disrupted my heart rhythm. So I was constantly under a cardiologist care for years. And of course, the pulmonologist, I had to go through all the orthopedics and all of that stuff with the bad back. And it also gave me a brainstem injury, which anybody's ever heard of a TBI or traumatic brain injury? I suffered that. And I still, to this day, have trouble with that. You don't know it entirely because I covered up pretty good and I learned how to deal with most of it. I'll tell you how bad it got. I was home. I lived in this house for years. And I would say probably 6 months into it, I started losing my memory. It kept getting worse and rapidly, very quickly. It kept getting to where I didn't know where anything was anymore in my house. We had to put sticky notes in the cabinets. Where's the coffee cup? Y'all know me. Y'all know I love my coffee. Had to have sticky notes. The coffee cups are here, saucers here, glasses here, and drawers, the knives here. Everywhere there's sticky notes. It was bad. And thank God I had my sister. She would call me every day and work with me with my memory. And like I said, that was pretty tough in itself. And then, of course, the fractures in my spine made it a little more difficult to move around. And I couldn't breathe. So, I mean, I just had this multitude of things going on. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't function. It was great. I thought I was going to die a lot of days. I was ready to give up. But I just couldn't. You know, I'm looking at my kids, say, I can't do it. I got to keep going. It's not who I am. And then I started having to deal with workers' comp. Anybody in here ever deal with workers' comp? Don't raise your hand. You know, they're not real friendly sometimes. And I can tell you, you know, they're trying to save money for the company. I understand that part. It's an insurance. I get it. But when you're on the side that you can't do anything about it, it gets ugly. And I was constant battles with them to doing what they call activity checks. They would come to my house, wanting to know all kind of what I'm doing on a daily basis. And I had one guy actually came in and he was talking to me about going to work as a security guard, a security officer at the same place I was working when I got hurt. A considerable amount of money less per hour. So I'm not doing that. If someone's going to steal something, you think I'm going to chase them down and fight with them? Ain't happening. I'll let them have it. I'll tell them where the better stuff is. You know, no, I don't take that one, take this one. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So he calls workers' comp from my phone in my house, tells the lady, he says, look, I think we got your guy. He said he's ready to come to work. He'll come in next week. We'll get him lined up and he'll come back to work. I said, hold up. No, give me the phone. So I took the phone away from him. We have one of them, hanging on a wall back in. So I took the phone away from him. Told that lady, I said, look, this guy's lying to you. I never said it. Back off. Hung up the phone. I looked at the guy, said, you get out of my house right now. So I had to kick this guy out of my house. And it's just, that's how bad it gets. They come to your house and want to just harass you. But I dealt with that, and I had a lot of doctors that would tell me, Tom, these injuries are bad, but this one won't keep you from going back to work and, some sort of function, do something, but it's not enough to give you disability. Then another one said, this one's not enough for disability, but it's enough to keep you, from doing this and that. And none of them, they wouldn't come together and say total until later. So I had to deal with that. Now, when you go back to work after this, a lot of y'all might know this, but you're supposed to be able to go some sort of you got to make so much money similar to what you were making, comparable. That's the word I'm looking for. Comparable to what you were making to be able to feed your family and pay your bills. Well, I wasn't trained for any of that. Like I said, we had 3 choices coming out of high school, and I wasn't trained for anything. They wanted me to drive an airboat. Please. I've been thrown out of an airboat. I don't want to drive one, I don't know if y'all know what an airboat is, but it's a big aluminum boat and it's got an airplane engine on it with a big propeller that pushes it down in little bayous and swamps and grass, stuff like that. I mean, I love the swamps, but I don't want to drive an airboat through it. That's not my idea of a good time. And then along with all of the other things, loss of income. I was in this house for a couple of years when I got hurt. I was they were paying me $200 a week for workers' comp. So I just almost lost my house. We didn't have the money, couldn't pay the bills. So I ended up selling the house, getting nothing for it, just enough money to go buy a little trailer that I had to fix up. But we did it. You do what you have to do in hard times. Went through all that. So, it starts to play on your psyche as a man, especially because, the man's got to take care of his family. That's just how we were raised. I mean, I know things have changed nowadays, but back then, the man's got to do this. And I was sold on the idea that I have to function right to take care of my family. This is my responsibility. And when you can't do it, it starts to play on your psyche a bit. So I had issues with that. So I'm sitting around, and so we'll speed up a little bit to 1995. I think it was 95. Anybody in here work on the O.J. Simpson case? I know everybody's heard of it. Well, I was wanting to recognize if anybody did, because when I watched that, I watched every day of this stuff. I mean, I had nowhere to go. They said, I'll never go to work. Eventually, they came together and said, throw your boots away, your hard hat away, because you're not going to go back to any physical labor. You'll never work again, period. So that plays on your psyche a bit too. So I'm watching O.J. Simpson every day. I'm bored out of my skull. I'm watching that. And when I saw what was going on, I saw these people, I didn't know what forensics meant. I never heard the word. Excuse me. Well, I was watching what they were doing, and it hit me like, I love science and I love history. So I'm watching what they're doing. I said, how do they think to do this? How did they think to do this technique to do that? You know, and just my mind started racing, you know, how? Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's a blessing to be on this side where I'm one of those guys now. I went full circle. I'm one helping to figure this out. And now I know some of the things that we do to figure out how this was done. You know, so, but that was, I want to say that was my main inspiration. I was hoping somebody would be here. I recognize it and tell them thank you, because it was California people that gave me my inspiration to move on. And I said, you know what? I want to try to do that some kind of way. I want to get into forensics. So I looked around and there wasn't anything in Louisiana that had forensics. So I said, okay, what am I going to do? Again, my sister and I talked every day. She worked with me on my memory and said, do something that you know. She said, carve something. Carve something? You mean take a stick and a knife like these old men in front of the old store whittling a stick? No, I don't want to do that. She said, no, carve something you know. Well, excuse me. I was looking at the wall and I have a bass that was mounted on the wall. And I fished professional bass circuits for 3 years before my injury. I said, you know what? I know crankbaits. I know fishing lures. So I started carving wooden fishing lures, painting them and putting the little bills on the hooks and all, and giving those away for gifts because I started, man, I had so many of them, I didn't know what to do with them. Everybody kept saying, Tom, these things are great. They catch fish. Man, I want more. I want more. So I couldn't keep up. I was doing so many. So that went on and I got the idea. I said, you know, I want to go to college. I'd never been to college before. This was 1996. I was talking to my lawyer. I said, look, this is what I want to do. He said, Tom, no, that's not what you want to do. I said, why not? He said, because your case will be worth zero. You get a college degree, you're now trained, your case is worth nothing. Well, let me tell you, I snapped back pretty quick. I said, I don't know about you, but I feel like my self-worth is worth a lot more than any settlement I'll ever get out of a lawsuit. You know, I can go to work, provide for my family, make a good impact on the community. I want to go to work. I'm not going to sit at home. I'm not happy doing that. So I kept on, and finally he talked to workers' comp and they said, all right, we'll try it. They agreed to let me go to school. I went to Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana. That's another one too, you know, I try saying. But went there for 2 years as a marketing major because they didn't have forensics, so with 2 years. Then my court case came up. And without going into all of that, the judge says, okay, this guy's total permanent disabled. You know, y'all gonna have to pay him. And well, workers' comp said, well, we can never make him go to work. So they quit paying for my college. That was, so okay, so no more college. So I'm out of college after 2 years, back at the house, doing nothing, you know. So I was watching TV one day and there was this Discovery Channel. They had a thing, it's called Electric Shock and Lightning Strike Survivors group, and they had a special on them. They're from North Carolina. There was a special on them on TV, and I mean, they were describing my injuries to a T. I'm thinking, man, there's nobody that understands me, but they're telling my life story word for word. I mean, I got to get in touch with these people. Well, at the end of it, they had a telephone number. For more information, call this guy and this number. So I called it thinking, you know, I was going to go through a whole list of these operators. No, he's out of the office, whatever. Well, the man that answered the phone was the one that they interviewed. He was the one that started this whole group. He suffered an electrocution. He was a bank teller talking on a microphone like this. Lightning hit the bank and it came through and hit him in the face. And so he suffered a lot of the same things that I went through. So we talked, we cried, we talked, we cried on the phone for, had to be an hour. And finally I realized somebody understands what's going on. And so he put me in touch with some people, and after a little while he said, Tom, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to write your story. I got a book coming out. I want you to write a chapter in my book. Okay. He said, I want you to tell it like it is. That's all I know, people. I just tell it like it is. I don't try to sugarcoat anything. I'm not good at that. So, I mean, so I did. I wrote it out step by step, what happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, submitted it, and he published it in his book. It was called Life After Shock. is volume 2. So moving on from that, we'll come back. I'm going to touch back on this a little bit later. That was in 99 that they took me out of school. And I was pretty disappointed by it. So, and my wife she took a new job. She was driving from Morgan City. We were living to Lafayette, which is 70 miles. So she's going 70 miles every day. So, I'm not going to do that. I can't have her on the road like that. These people are crazy on these roads. And so we moved to Lafayette. Took that little trailer we had, we sold it. We sold that trailer and bought a new one and had it moved to Lafayette. In a little trailer park. It was a nice trailer park. It wasn't one of them ratty little things they made you keep up with. It was nice. But I didn't want to live like that. It's too close. I can't live with my house that close to somebody else. So I said, I'm going to go find a piece of property. I went out, found a piece of property, 12 acres out in the country. I mean, it's so far out there, you got to pump daylight to me through a rubber hose. That's where I'm at. I'm way out in the sticks. This is what I want right here. So we bought the property, signed the papers on it, February 21st. And that was 2001. February 23rd, coming back home from Morgan City, going back to my home where I was at. It was Mardi Gras time. And this guy pulls out in front of me on the highway and I T-boned him. I was doing 70 miles an hour, hit him, T-boned, didn't have time to hit my brakes because he came out so fast. I didn't know he was going to do it. Well, I heard my neck when it popped. So I said, this is not good. I pushed him like a little over 100 feet sideways on the side of the road. We both ended up in a ditch. I got out, kind of was, what happened? Am I still alive? And so I got out to go check on him. And the girl he was with got on the passenger side. He's messed up. He's going to die. He's got blood everywhere. And thinking, oh my God, I killed somebody. So that was not a good thing. So I realized that something was wrong with my neck because I heard it pop twice. I said, you know what, I better not go try to pull this man out of the car. So I started feeling a little bit of pain. It took a few minutes before I felt it. I guess the adrenaline. I guess I just didn't feel it at first. So I laid down. Oh, I forgot to tell you. My wife was following behind me in her car. She saw the whole thing happen. Yeah, that was not a pretty thing. So she pulls over. I'm laying in a ditch and it's dark. It's at nighttime. And I'm thinking this guy must have been drunk. It's Mardi Gras. Everybody's drunk in Mardi Gras. That's the way we do things where I'm from. But just so happened I wasn't. Thank God. But so she's screaming and hollering, where, Tom. She saw my door, my truck open, but I wasn't in it. Tom, well, she's panicking. And I'm just laying there looking at the stars. I said, shut up, I'm over here. She came over, you all right? I said, I'm all right. I said, I heard my neck pop, I don't want to move. You what? And luckily, there was an ambulance sitting less than a quarter of a mile from where we were. They saw it, so they backed up and they came over. And they came up to me and they said, man, are you all right? I said, no, I heard my neck pop, but the guy in the car is really messed up. Go worry about him. So they went over to him and everything on the left side was broken. His shoulder, his arm, hip, his spleen was busted. He was in bad shape, 20 years old. Thinking, my God, I killed a 20-year-old. And they said, no, he's not dead. But it was so bad, they put us both in the same ambulance to bring us to the same hospital. And I never heard of that happening until that day. Well, they're in there and he's choking on blood. So they had to put one of them tubes, I don't know what you call it, to drain his lung out. And I said, oh man, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear this. And they had me strapped down, my neck taped up to a board and I couldn't move. So they got us to the hospital and did an x-ray and come to find out I broke the C2 vertebrae. You know Christopher Reeve? He broke that C2. I broke the same one in 3 places. So I told him, they said, we're going to send you to Lafayette. This was in New Iberia, about 20 miles from Lafayette. We're going to bring you to the hospital in Lafayette. I said, can I go to the bathroom first? He said, nope. You're not getting off of that table. Go on yourself. We don't care. We've seen it before. I said, I'm not doing it. So they put me in the ambulance and they said, we're going to count rocks from here to Lafayette. I said, y'all know I got to go to the bathroom, right? No, we're not doing this. Let's go. They said, no, not on my watch. You're not paralyzed when you got in this ambulance. You're not going to be paralyzed when we get to the hospital. Go on yourself. Well, long story short, I did not. I held it. But I know y'all wanted to hear that part. But so they got us to the hospital. got me in, and the neurosurgeon was on there. He went and looked at my x-rays, came in and talked to me. He says, Tom, I don't know if you know this or not, but you should be dead right now. And he said, there's no earthly reason you're still alive right now. He said, on top of that, you should be paralyzed from the neck down. Did you know you broke that bone in 3 places? I said, I know, I heard it pop twice. He said, well, it broke 3 times. And he said, you should not be feeling anything from the neck down at this point. He said, you know what? God was riding with you. He said, you better take care of that, man. Don't try to kill him. We need him, so my fault. I killed God, But, so anyway, he said, put me in a hard collar instead of doing the surgery. They were going to put a halo collar and all that. I said, do we really need to do that? He said, I'll tell you what, I'll put you I forgot, Malibu collar or whatever they call it. It's a hard collar, snaps on the side. He said, you're going to wear this. This was February. You're going to wear this to at least August, 24/7. Don't you ever take it off. He said, don't even sneeze. You don't cough from now till August because you might be paralyzed. One bad move, you take the step wrong and you fall down your steps, you might be paralyzed. Anything. I mean, I was so scared to even move, this was going on. Well, after a little while, I said, this is not working. I got to go do something. So I had my wife, I said, drop me off at the property. She said, no. I said, no, you're going to put me at the property. I got a telephone, put me out there. I got a little hammock and an ice chest, tent. I'm going to spend a few days out there at the property working because it was just a field. And I had to work on it to get it fixed up to move out there. I said, I want to go spend some time out there. So she dropped me off and I was out there for 3 days. I was out there. And so anyway, we got the property ready after a long battle with a lot of stuff. But anyway, we had the driveway fixed. And on the side of the driveway where, we had to put a driveway in, put a culvert in the ditch, cover it up where you can drive over. Well, I wanted to go put nice looking little caps on the ends, So I'm dressing it up and taking my measurements and cutting the wood and fitting it up, making it look nice, leveling it out. Well, where I was at, the skies were beautiful, beautiful day. Behind me was a set of trees. I didn't know, but there was a storm brewing coming up behind me. So I'm working, and I hear some crackling going on. Man, I jumped, I looked up, and about that time, I saw a bolt of lightning hit a transformer less than 1/8 of a mile from me. Immediately, I felt my muscles contracting, tasted blood in my mouth. The ears are ringing. I had all this stuff going on, and so I spit to see if I busted my mouth, and nothing. Oh my God, what happened? I know I didn't get hit by lightning because it hit like right down the road. My ears were ringing so bad and I was shaking. I said, I got to go home. Got in my truck, picked up the phone, and I called that guy. His name is Steve Marshburn with the Electric Shock and Survivors group. So I called him and said, Steve, this is what's going on. This is what just happened, and I don't know what to do. He said, my friend, you just got hit by lightning. I said, no, it hit over there. He said, no, it hit over there, but it also hit you. So I'm going to tell y'all now, if y'all see lightning and when it hits the ground, it can travel up to 12 miles. So if you see, take it from me, if you see lightning, get out, go back in the house. Excuse me. So he said, I want you to go to the hospital, get checked out. And when you get out of there, he said, I want you to do nothing. Just take it easy. And so I did. Took it easy for a while. And, I rebounded from that. But I knew I'd been hit by lightning. I got shocked for crying out loud. I got electrocuted. Now I got hit by lightning. What else is going to happen, It's like, Jesus Christ, man. So whatever did I do wrong? How did I upset you, God? Let me know. I'll stop. Whatever it is, Well, moving on a little bit, a little good news. We actually got some good news in this. That was in March of 2002 that I was hit by lightning. August of 2004, McNeese State University in Lake Charles, Louisiana, started the first forensic program in the state of Louisiana. I said, this is what I got to do. I called up, I said, when does it start? He said, well, we're taking registration and all that on Monday. I said, I'll be there. So what time you get there? He said, I'll get there about 7 o'clock. I said, I'll be there at 6:45. I'll have coffee going. He said, I don't worry about it. But anyway, I was there waiting on him to come open the doors at 6:45. And it was a 2-hour drive for me to get there. So, but I was there. I had to do this. I just felt it in me. I've got to go learn this forensic stuff. So I went. I was one of the first ones to sign up. Signed up and I said, okay, how am I going to pay for all of this? So workers' comp had already cut me out. They're not going to pay for it. So I talked to the state people and, they have programs to help you go to college and all, and they quickly accepted me. Absolutely. You just go to school. We'll pay for everything. Don't worry about it. You just go to school. Pay for an apartment, all that stuff, food and everything. So I went and I worked, man. I tell you what, I worked really hard. Like I said, my memory was bad, but I worked on it. Anything that happened before my injury, before August 23rd, I can tell it to you right now like it was yesterday. From that point to now, not so much. I mean, I'm getting better. Going through college and all really helped me. It's, I say your brain's a muscle, you have to exercise it. Well, I did. Going to college helped me out tremendously. I mean, I cannot put enough emphasis on that. It helped me. And going back and forth, different studies. I was, the program they had was a forensic chemistry degree. Now, I love science, I love history, so I'm going to do this. That was 2004. When I got into Chemistry 101, I'm looking at the board and see this periodic table. That don't look familiar to me. And so I asked the instructor a couple of days. I mean, I'm making F's in my class, but this is not good. I said, I know I can do better than this. So I said, I don't understand what's going on. I'm looking at this periodic table. She said, when's the last time you saw a periodic table? 1978. She goes, there's 19 new elements on there right now. Then I was like, she said, then we dropped some off, so go back and learn it. Oh my God, here we go. This whole memory thing. And I got to learn a new periodic table. I'm old. I don't have time for that. By this time, I'm in my late 30s, early 40s at this time. Well, I went ahead, went to school. And when I was in college, I started, 2005, I started it was a chapter of the McNeese State University Forensic Science Society. I wrote the bylaws on it, got everything started, and we got a little group going to try to promote forensics. Called in all kind of instructors that, like we do now. You call in people that work crime scene and whatever, call them and do a little talk. I call in thinking, it's going to help the students out really good. Man, I got so sold in this, man. I was drawn in. And so it was great. I learned a lot. And I said, this is where I need to be. July of 2005. I know you're not going to believe this. This is the 5th time. I was struck by lightning again. Isn't that, yeah, I mean, what's the chances you get electrocuted and struck by lightning 2 times? I was driving in my truck on a weekend, around the old, call it a farm if you want, my little spot out in the swamp. Lightning came across my windshield. I could feel the heat. My ears plugged up immediately, singed the hairs on my arms. I could taste the metal taste in my mouth, the blood again. Well, I spit again. This time I got a mouthful of blood. It burned holes in the inside of my mouth. I pulled off on the side of the road scared. I couldn't drive. I was like this, you tensed up, you look like old Fred Sanford, you hurt and everything. So I picked up the phone. I called Steve Marshburn again. I said, Steve, you're not going to believe this. And he starts laughing. He says, yeah, Tom. He said, I do believe that. And here's the reason. You're now susceptible to lightning strikes. He said, you got something in your body. Anytime there's lightning in the area, it's going to hit you. Get ready. He said, a lot of people, if they've been hit once and lived from it, they're going to get it again and again and again. See, he said, I know people have been hit at least 12 times. So, my God, if I got that to look forward to, I don't want to get hit again, man. This stuff hurts. So anyway, I went to the hospital again, got checked out. They treated the burns and all and did all kind of studies. And I found out that there are people that there's doctors and lawyers that have dedicated their careers to helping people like me. I never used any of them. I felt like, I'm going to get through this. My head is as hard as this table. I'm going to do this on my own. Well, you can't do this on your own. But I didn't get any of those people to help out. But I did go through it. So I'm going to move up a little bit. In 2006, I worked as an intern at the Southwest Louisiana Crime Lab. Worked for a little while, you know, one of the semesters, how you do, one semester you work there. Well, I guess the director liked my work ethic. She liked how I get along with everybody and decided in 2007 to offer me a job. I said, I haven't graduated. She said, no matter, I want you to come to work with us and you can graduate on your own time. I just want you to come to work with us so you're here. I want you to continue to go to school. I said, yeah, good, because I'm too close. I'm not dropping this degree. I'm going to finish my degree and have it in my hands, you know. So I started in the summer as part-time. Went ahead and finished out my, I was going through summer. I finished that semester and I did the fall. December the 1st of 2007, I was hired on full-time at the crime lab. So, and I went in as a chemistry tech until, you know, I could pass the test that they have to become a chemistry analyst. So I started there, and December 15th, I actually graduated from Indiana State University. And I did not end up with my chemistry degree like I started because of math. I can't do math to save my soul, y'all. I got to pull my socks and shoes off to count to 20 for you. You know, so I couldn't do math. So I don't know how I did chemistry. I mean, chemistry, there's a lot of math, but I could see what chemistry equations are doing. Anybody here take chemistry? So I know there you go, you know what it's doing, what it's supposed to do. But when you give me a math problem that I'm supposed to guess what these numbers mean, that says find X, no, I divorced her. I don't want to find her. She's my ex for a reason. You know, so I don't want to know that, but I couldn't figure out math. So anyway, all the math classes I had was linear. It was going to take me 5 more years to finish college if I didn't fail a math class. So I changed my major. And I ended up with a Bachelor of Arts degree in general studies with a minor in forensic chemistry, and also had an associate's degree in criminal justice. So I went to work at the crime lab and, you know, just kept going pretty good. February of 2008, I was 2 months. I was at the crime lab full time. My director says, Tom, what do you know about fingerprints? I think everybody has them. That was all I knew, you know. I didn't know anything about fingerprints. They didn't teach me that in college. We were there for chemistry. Yeah, I'm lost. She said, well, our lady here that's working latent prints needs help. We got a lot of cases coming in and she could use the help. I said, hey, look, as long as I'm working, I don't care where you put me. Just let me go, let me work. I'm going to do all this. So she put me in the latent print department. Y'all, I'm going to tell you what, this is like, you know, if you ever go into something and you feel like this is where you belong, you know, this is it. This is where I need to be. I picked up latent prints so quick. Took a 3-year training period and did it in 14 months. And then that was long because my mentor at the time made me read the same 5 books. Every chapter in each of these 5 books, both of them from the Worthons, by the way. But that was 2 of my books that I had to read. Great people. I've known them. They were fantastic folks. Great loss to the community. But anyway, I studied their work. And it helped me. I mean, it was like I knew this is where I belong. I didn't, from March of 2008, I never worked another chemistry case. It was all fingerprints. And 2013, we had a little bit of a shakeup at the lab. I won't go into that one. That was a total nightmare. Let's just say my supervisor was replaced. Had to be moved somewhere else. And I got put in as technical supervisor. No, not yet. I don't want to do this. No, guess what? You're now the senior analyst in that department because you've been here longer than anybody else in that department. So now you're technical supervisor. Great. I got to learn this now. And then I had to learn how to do policies and procedures and right, y'all know how this stuff goes. A lot of learning to do. Again, my memory sucks, but it's a muscle. So I keep working and keep working and keep going. And it was October 2013, I believe, I was asked to present, just come talk for SCAFO. This lovely lady sitting right over here forced me into doing it. Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate you. Yeah. Now, at the time when I went, I had never given a presentation in front of my peers. I'd only taught officers, how to lift prints and stuff like that. That's stuff, that's a given. You teach people what you can. But when I was asked to come speak in front of a group of my peers, and of all places, coming out of Podunk, Louisiana, coming to California, I was scared to death. I'm gonna tell you. I've heard about these smart people in California. I said, they're gonna eat me alive. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I know they're gonna eat me up. I don't know. I started getting a little nervous, a little scared about it. But I did it anyway. It was a case study, and I'm gonna present that same case study this week. It's called Thelma and Louise. So if you get a chance, come listen to it. It's a good story. But I was surprised at how well I was received. Nobody made fun of me. I figured they'd make fun of the way I talk. I think Cynthia's the only one that did, but she's got Louisiana roots too. She may not tell you that, but she does. Right? Yeah. So, we got something in common here. But she's the one that brought me in and made me do this. So I did it. And I'm very grateful she did. Thank you again for that. I know it's 12 years ago, but thank you again. It was great. I got good exposure. And I just published my book. I'll bring you a book. Come sell some copies. So I did. I had a book signing, sold some books and stuff. And so it was a great time for me. That started my speaking career, if you will. I started teaching more and more and started getting my confidence built up. Kept going. I said, all right, I got this, man. This is good. And so now I ended up talking, well, I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit, but I teach all over different states in the United States. Teach in Panama, the country Panama, not Panama, Florida, and South Mexico. I'm in Mexico quite a bit. In fact, Mark Waldo's up there with me all the time. And Tony, I saw you here. Is Ramon here somewhere? He's on his way. Okay, Ramon Rivera. I know y'all probably know him. We teach at the same place down in Mexico, and it's a great experience. You're able to reach these people that otherwise probably don't have a chance to learn from people from other countries. So they have a really good program down there, and I'm fortunate enough to be a part of that. I get to go once, sometimes twice, and maybe even 3 times a year. And the reason I got that one was because Mark Waldo was president of the California division. Well, he was at Scaffold whenever I was here for Cynthia. So I wanted to hear you speak. He said, I want you to come talk at my conference, come present a class over here. Again, thank you, Mark. I certainly appreciate that. And again, I was scared because now I'm not just talking about a case study. I'm presenting classes. I'm doing workshops and this stuff. Well, this Mexican group came in, they did my workshop. And they loved my teaching style. So the director came up with his interpreter and says, hey, how you feel about going to Mexico and teaching? Yeah, I'll do that. But I figured they were blowing smoke like everybody else does, and I'll never hear from them again. A few months later, I get this message on WhatsApp. Hey, I need your passport information. For what? I'm giving that stuff out over somebody I don't know. He said, no, I want you to come to Mexico. I'm gonna buy you plane tickets. I want you to come down and come teach. Wow. He was serious, I did not think he was. I went down there. It's been a great week. It was fantastic. But we had one of my class, so I say one class, but it was like, theater style, kind of like this, but a long theater. It was 240 some odd students. I mean, Mark and I, Tony, we could tell you, when you go talk there, you got sometimes anywhere from 20 to 200 people, 250 people. And I do Zoom classes with them. It's easy to rack up 250 people on those classes because they're traveling. I mean, they got this going out all over South America, Argentina, there was one from India. I present classes all over, so it can be done. 2014. I'm almost finished with this boring stuff, y'all. Then we're going to get into some other stuff. 2014, I was elected president of the Louisiana division of the IAI to serve as the 70th president. First thing I did, I said, I'm going to go to Minnesota where the international conference was, and I'm going headhunting. I want some speakers for my conference. I met Jason Cole. Jason, you're going to come to Louisiana with me. So he came down, and I had some people from California. Tom Washington, anybody know Tom? Rochelle Babylon? Yeah, great people, man. I had them come in. I had some other people flown in. And I will tell you this, Cynthia, you might not believe this, Madam President, but you have it made. I know you're not believing this. You have a crew working all behind the scenes. She's like that duck sitting on a pond, nice and calm and collected, nothing going on. But underneath the water, them little feet are just going, man. Well, she can tell you as president, that's what it's like. Well, she's fortunate. She's got a great cast behind her doing a lot of paperwork, helping her out. Louisiana, the president does it all. I had to line up the hotels, book flights, get the menu done, order food, entertainment, everything the president did. So it was a lot of work. So my hats off to you because I know how hard it is, especially one like this. I know you put a lot of heart and soul into it. So we hosted a state conference in 2015. And I know y'all know a great man by the name of Steve Johnson. Is Steve here yet? No? Okay. Y'all know Steve Johnson, right? He was the first sitting president of the international body that I'm aware of to ever come to Louisiana. Calls me up, Tom, I'm coming down to your conference. Oh my God. What am I going to do? We got the big guy coming. I don't know what to do. We really got to put on a show. So we always had a theme for our banquet night. So my theme was 70s disco. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when I came out, you can ask Jason. Jason was there. He'll tell you when I came out, after we got through with all the formalities, I went to the green room. My wife and I went, we changed. When I walked out, nobody knew who I was. I had on a big afro, big old purple hat with the leopard skin on it. I had a Pimp Daddy suit on, Elvis glasses, big cane with the big diamond on the end of it. I was Pimp Daddy. My shoes were big old platform shoes with goldfish in the heels. Yeah, I was styling, man. I was styling. Nobody knew who I was until I started talking. Oh, yeah, we know who this clown is. So, but before my conference, I started having a lot of back issues. And I went to the doctor, and I was referred to a neurosurgeon. I was starting to have trouble in my lower back, and it was, when I got electrocuted, I was twisted or something. Anyway, that was part of the injury. He said, man, we got to do surgery. I said, wait. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a deal with you. If you let me get through my conference, give me a steroid shot. Those things are great, by the way. I don't advise you keep doing it, but they're great. Took a steroid injection, got me through my conference. I said, I promise you, get me through this conference. I'll come and we'll do the surgery. So he said, okay. So I went ahead and I got my steroid shot. I got through the conference. I don't know, next week, I don't remember how many days, but it was the following week I set up my surgery. So they went, that was the first of many of my spine surgeries that I've had. Oh, they went in, this was just a discectomy, to go and clean it up a little bit, a bulging disc, and went and clean it. A little small cut, no big deal. I was back on my feet in just no time, and I felt good for a little while. 2018, I was so bad I could barely walk. It was hurting me so much. Mother's Day passed by. I spent my day in the bed. I kind of held onto the walls. I walked to the back. Everybody's on my back porch. It was our gathering spot, is the back porch. Poked my head out. Happy Mother's Day, ladies. I love all of y'all. I got to go. Went back to bed. Normally, I cook for everybody. I cook a really mean Cajun dish. I can cook. If y'all ever want to come to Louisiana, look me up. I'll cook y'all the best gumbo you ever had. An authentic gumbo. Yeah. I learned how to make gumbo when I was 8 years old. So anyway, 2018, I had my second back surgery. They went in, they did a laminectomy where they removed parts of your bones so the nerves can breathe. Did that? Okay, that feels pretty good. I'm kind of functioning. It's not too bad. 2019 rolls around. Started having some problems, my neck was hurting a little bit. I'm always looking down that little loop, fingerprint people, you know what I'm talking about. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor took some x-rays. He says, dude, I'm not doing anything. I'm not touching you. I said, why? What's the matter? He said, you need to go see your neurosurgeon. Why? He said, well, if I had to guess, you're going to need surgery. Lord, here we go. Call up the neurosurgeon. Go get an MRI and then come see me. Did all of that, went in. He said, how quick can you come into the hospital? I said, why? He said, we got to go in. We got to fix you. He said, you got a problem with your neck. I said, how bad? He said, you need fusion from the C5, C6, and C7. We need to fuse those three vertebrae because you have nothing holding those vertebrae apart. Your disc is gone in both of them. So I went in. It was June. And they did that fusion on me. And that was rough. I had another collar on my neck again. Here we go again. But anyway, I went through that. I had 12 weeks of rehab, did it. It worked fine. No issues right now. Thank God. And I know you're not going to believe this. Here we go again. October of 2022. My back was giving me so much problem. The surgeon says, you know what, Tom, there's nothing I can do for you. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to put a spinal cord stimulator. Anybody ever heard of one of those? It's like a TENS unit. They went in my hip. They installed under my skin, they put a battery pack, ran a wire up my spine to the T10, 11, and 12 vertebrae. And they have a little paddle, what's called a paddle, about that long, that wide, like that thick, little metal plates in it. They shoved that in my spine, up against my spinal column, sewed me all back up. Sewed me all back up. And it was like a TENS unit. It sends these little electrical pulses onto your spinal cord that interrupts the signal to your brain that I'm hurting, in theory. Well, that was in October. December, I couldn't feel my legs anymore. I couldn't walk. And I was driving to work 30 miles every day and back home. So that was kind of rough. Louisiana roads are not the best. And, you know, I kind of think these covered wagons riding in the field, you know, with the holes and the wooden tires. It's kind of how bumpy some of our roads are. And anyway, I have to travel this twice a day. So it was not easy. I was struggling. So 2023, January of 2023, right after the Christmas break, I went into my director's office and I said, Tracy, my wife and I thought about this. We prayed about it. I'm going to have to call it a career. I got to retire. So I can't do it. So I can't feel my legs. We sit out on the back porch and the mosquitoes are all over my legs and I don't feel them. So they call me bait. As long as the mosquitoes are on me, they're not going to touch anybody else. So I'm bait. You know, so, but I mean, it's good unless you catch malaria or something, you know. But yeah, I couldn't feel anything in my legs and it was a struggle to stand up and walk. So I went ahead and I retired. And that was in March 1st, I retired from the crime lab. I'm gonna tell you, that was the hardest thing I ever did. I loved what I did. Over 15 years, I was very passionate about my work. I hated to give that up because it was just something, I felt so good about helping people, you know, and like the sheriff was saying earlier, you know, we help people out, whether you know it or not, we help people. You know, and what we do, we close cases, we catch the bad guys. This helps families in some way. So, you know, you're fulfilling something in your heart. And I had to give that up. I said, this is not good, you know, but I had no choice. I couldn't function. And I went to get another injection in my back. Now, up until this time I'm going to tell you about, I've had 30 procedures done on my spine. So it's not been an easy road for me. But and look, I am not up here asking for pity. I don't want pity. That's not why I'm here. I'm just here to send a message. That's all it is. I'm okay. But I went and I had an injection done in my spine. The emergency room, the doctor there, or the nurse, male nurse, he says, Mr. Geyer, he said, if you were my uncle, my dad, my cousin, my brother, I don't care. He said, I can't offer you medical suggestions legally. He said, but if you were a relative of mine, I would send you to this doctor in Houston, which is a 2-hour drive for me. I said, okay, I'll think that over. He said, no, don't think about it, do it. So a couple of weeks later, I was getting my teeth cleaned at the dentist office and, you know, we were talking, how's the back doing? So it's not good, you know, I retired, you know, And he said, you know what? I'm going to tell you about this guy. He's in Houston. This man is like he walks on water. If he talks, you're talking to God right there. You got to go, same doctor. So I'm thinking, you know what? These medical people are telling me about this guy. That carries a lot of weight. July, I made an appointment. I went in and I saw Dr. Williamson. He came in, did all the x-rays, the MRIs and on. He sits down, he looks at me, he goes, you know, your problem's not all that bad. I must have cut him some eyes, man, because he said, no. Oh. He said, it's bad. Look, man, he said, it's bad, but I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. He said, you're probably thinking this much you get back is your problem. I said, well, yeah, they told me, you know, No, he said, you got one spot. between L4 and L5 that can be fixed. He said, I can fix you real easy. Really? Yeah, I've heard that before. He said, give me a shot and I'll prove it to you. He said, if it don't work, I'll pay for your surgery. Wow. How many doctors have ever said that to y'all? I've never heard that. It's okay. Let's do it. So fast forward to October 29th. 31st, I'm sorry, October 31st. I went in, he said it's going to be a series of surgeries. You're going to do one on Thursday and do the other one on Thursday, one Tuesday and one Thursday. He said, oh, and by the way, I'll pull that stimulator out too. He said, I'm telling you, he said, I install those. It's not going to help you from this point on because you have no more cartilage right there. He said, you're bone on bone. The stimulator is not going to help. We're going to go ahead and remove it. He said, but what I'm going to do, I promise you, it's going to fix you. So I went in. They cut me on my side first day, went in, they separated my vertebrae, put that little cage, they call it, a little titanium disc. They put that in, see if the space was right to get the pressure off my nerves. That day, after I woke up, I was walking all over the hospital. I mean, I couldn't believe the relief I had. And I thought, man, maybe it's just because I'm numb. But I was walking everywhere. And before that, I might be able to walk 500 feet in a day's time. And now they got it marked off. He was a college football player, and everything's marked off in yards. And I'm walking 50 yards, 75 yards. They kept saying, Tom, slow down. You're going to hurt yourself. So you don't get it, man. I don't hurt. I feel good. I want to keep doing this. I got to go. Just, you're not going to hurt yourself on my watch. So anyway, I calmed down. 2 days later, before surgery, the doctor came and said, look, man, you're doing everything perfect. He said, you're doing great. You're going to heal from this. Fantastic. He said, we're going to go in here in a little while. He said, I'm going to take that stimulator out. I'm going to put your fusion. You're going to be good. So it's going to take a little while. He said, it's going to be a challenge. He said, but I think, he said, from what I'm understanding, you've been through enough. This is going to be a cakewalk for you. Okay. I went in, they cut my back like that. 2 rods and 4 screws, put it in, and then they pulled the stimulator out. That evening, I got back to my my hospital room at about 7 o'clock. Didn't have a clue where I was at. So my kids said, do not get on Facebook. Yeah. Got a bad habit of putting stuff on Facebook I shouldn't. But anyway, I didn't. I stayed off of it. And the next day I got up, said, I'm ready to walk. I said, man, you want to wait a little bit? Nope. I want to get up. I want to walk. Around the hospital, all these markings, he's got the nurses' stations are marked off. Man, I did 125 yards with no problem. I said, man, this is fantastic. He said, if I could do that twice, they'll let me go. I did it 3 times, and I'm ready to go again. So he had to slow me down, you know. So when he came back in, and this was on Saturday, I was walking several times. He said, you're going to go home tomorrow. Sunday, I went home. Having a little trouble from the ride. You know, it was rough. But on the Monday, I started walking a mile a day. Then the next day, a mile a day. Then the Wednesday, I started walking 2 miles a day. I kept going on 2 miles. Then I got up to 3 miles. Then it was like, I cannot believe I'm walking 3 miles a day. Okay, just calm down, man. Calm down. You're going to hurt yourself. So anyway, after I went back in April of 24, my bones have healed fine. They're good. I have no problem with that. The only issue I have now is muscles. My muscles aren't healed up. And he said, oh, that'll take a while. It could take you a couple more years, but you're going to be fine. So I'm going to tell you, it really did me a lot of good. December of 23, after 30 years, was finally off of pain meds. I took my last one a week before Christmas. I put my cane up. Of course, I have my cane today, but that's only because of the unlevel ground out here. But other than that, I mean, I'm not used to unlevel ground. Louisiana, everything's like this, flat. So it's getting better. So what I'm trying to get at, well, 2 more little points I'm going to make here, and I'm finished with this. I still do my online presentations. I have through the whole thing. Now I'm more mobile. I'm getting around better. I'm going places. I'm doing functions. I'm actually going to locations. And I started working with Lynn Peavy Group as a consultant. I'm not trying to put in a plug. I'm just letting you know that started working with them as a consultant. And I do some trade shows and things like that with them. But I'm functioning again. So it feels good. Now, of course, I'm not on the bench doing fingerprint comparisons or processing, but hey, you know what? This is good. At least I can give something back now. I've had a great career, 15 years. Now I'm able to give back. And this is where I think I need to be. October of 2024, end of October, beginning of November, was my first actual trip back to Mexico. I missed 2 years because of all of this stuff. So I was able to go back and it felt good. Then December, we went on a cruise, and then I just 3 weeks ago, I think it was, Mark, 3 weeks ago, we went to Mexico again, got back 2 weeks ago. And that was my first time to travel alone. So that was a challenge. And this is my second time. But it's great. But anyway, my idea of growth and leadership, Ms. Cynthia says, make sure you hit both of these points, and I have no problem with that. I went through a lot of growth, you know, from where I was, like y'all heard my story. First time I ever told this, all of this in front of anybody, much less a crowd this size. So y'all have seen my trials, what I've been through. There's other stuff, but I mean, I'm not going to get into all of that, but everybody goes through this stuff. That's the growth part. You got to get over it. Leadership